Hey, what's up, everybody? How you guys doing? Good morning. It's early on Tuesday morning. I wanted to share. I'm kind of quiet because Hannah and Michelle are still sleeping. I wanted to share a story about what happened to me yesterday, and just the privilege that we get when we go inside so many different homes. So I was on an appointment yesterday. I had a guy in his late 60s, and showed up to the appointment and came inside, and he was kind of moving a little bit slow. Anyway, it was at 11:30, 11:15, 11:30, and he was like, "Let me get a cup of coffee. I didn't get any sleep last night." And he's like, "I ran out of my sleep medication, so I'm not sleeping." And I said, "Oh, okay." And we just kind of started chatting and building rapport. And he began to tell me a lot about his depression and just kind of what he's been through. And we ended up, talking insurance and helped him there, and got all that taken care of. And at the end of the appointment, he just talked a lot throughout the appointment, just kind of crying out for help, just talking about the stuff he's been through. And he's a lonely guy, and his kids don't live in the area. He was he suffered from the PTSD from being a Marine. He was also in law enforcement, retired law enforcement. And at the end, I just said, "Hey, I have one more question. This is your house. It's your call." I said, "I don't know if you're a man of prayer or a man of faith, but there's a scripture that says that he gives his beloved sleep. And I'd like to pray that and declare that over you today because you need rest." I said, "We all need rest. You've been through a lot, and I'd like to pray for you before I leave, if you'll let me." And he kind of got real excited, and he said, "Yo, man, absolutely, that would be great." And I just said, "Before I pray, in addition to the sleep, what's the number one miracle that you need in your life right now?" And he got kind of quiet, and he kind of looked away, and his eyes started to well up with tears. He didn't want to make eye contact with me, and he just began to just kind of tell me how lonely, and how he's thought about committing suicide on multiple occasions. And he's kind of crying out for a need to be known and loved and connected. And he's just been through a lot, from going to Vietnam, and being in war, and being in law enforcement, and now living alone. His kids are away, and he's just when I heard suicide, my heart broke for this guy. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Michelle and I did a video probably a year ago talking about this, and we gave ourselves a title in business that I'm going to encourage you guys to adopt. And that title is, in addition to being a mortgage protection specialist, in addition to being a final expense specialist, is your number one title needs to be that you're a professional encourager. You're a professional encourager. And the reason I say that is, in the United States alone, every 12.3 minutes somebody commits suicide. But I believe that if more people encouraged more people genuinely, and they felt loved, seen, noticed, connected, I believe less people would actually do that, because they would realize that they do have value, they're not unworthy. And I just thought yesterday was such a phenomenal opportunity. I felt so privileged that I got to be in this guy's home, and I got to pray for him and just encourage him and tell him that the Lord paid a high price for him. And when we were done praying, he was crying and wiping his tears. He was giving me a hug, and his whole countenance changed from the moment I showed up to the moment I left. He was a completely different person. Why? Is because I got to be there, and I got to release hope, and I got to encourage, and you guys get to do the same thing. And I had one CD in my car, and it was a Bethel worship CD. If you haven't looked those guys up or don't know about them, look them up on YouTube. Their music, their worship is amazing. And I just said, "Listen, I have one CD in my car. It's one of my favorites. And do you have a CD player?" He said, "Yes." I said, "I'm going to give it to you, and I just want you to put it on today, and just soak in God's presence, and just thank Him, because I believe today was a game changer. I believe that he touched you today, and you're going to see a new season. And he was so thankful. He's hugging me again, and I told him we're going to see him in a couple weeks. And I just wanted to share that story because Mike said something at the first meeting I went to, and he says, make it more about the mission than the money. I think that's so true, because if I would have been there yesterday more about the money than the mission, I would have missed an opportunity to encourage this guy. You can do both, but put people first. What a privilege it is to be at the dining room table. You don't know what people are going through, and you could literally be one encouraging word away from saving somebody's life. What if they were like, well, I got that appointment today, but I'm going to probably end it, after lunch. And what if you were the difference maker? What if you were the change agent? I'm reading a book called Destined to Win by Chris Valentin. And in the book, he talks about a lady by the name of Brene Brown, who has studied just about society's brokenness. And I want to share something real quick that I think you guys, it'll kind of open your eyes to something, that the root cause of society's brokenness is actually shame. And Brene defines shame as the fear of disconnection. So here's the difference. So guilt says you did something wrong, where shame says you are something wrong. Like you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not experienced enough, you're not spiritual enough, and so forth. But to be loved and accepted. Let's see. So needless to say, shame robs you of your sense of approval. And so I wanted to share this last part. And it says, if you feel unworthy, therefore you feel ashamed. And if you feel ashamed, you'll hide, you'll isolate. And when you hide, you feel disconnected. And when you feel disconnected, you feel unworthy. And that just goes round and round and round and round. And our greatest need of the human heart is the desire to feel connected, loved, and known. Everybody wants to be loved, including you and including me. And so I just encourage you today, Legacy Builders, when you're out there, if you just love people and you do things with integrity and you put them first, the premium is going to come. The business is going to come. You still need to learn the scripts. You still need to learn the system. You still need to do all that. But God called us to love him with all we have and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And who's our neighbor? Your neighbor is whoever you're sitting next to, whoever you're standing next to. And so have some compassion today. Go out there and change a life. I just thought I'd share that story. Hope you guys have an amazing day. See ya.